Let's take a look at the top 5 women billionaires on the list. Zoho founder Radha Vembu retained the top spot after she overtook Nykaa's Falguni Nair last year, who also remained at the second position this year with wealth of over 32,000 crore rupees. Arista Network CEO Jayashree Ulal came in third in the list. She led the company to a historic and successful IPO in June 2014. The Biocon chairperson, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, came fourth, while Neha Narkhede, co-founder of Confluent, was fifth on the list. And joining us on the broadcast this evening is Mr. Gurcharan Das. He's the author and thought leader, the former CEO of Procter & Gamble India. Mr. Das, great to have you on The Big Story this evening. Mr. Das, today, of course, we are talking about how India and Indians are getting richer. In fact, according to the Hurun list, India has produced a new billionaire every 5 days last year. Another endorsement of how wealth creation really has become the centerpiece of India's growth story. Your thoughts, Mr. Das?
Well, I mean, I think that's fine. That's good news. I know the leftists don't like this, but with wealth comes responsibility. And I think that still capitalism is not fully accepted in our country. People don't fully understand the market. They think it makes the rich richer and the poor poorer. Now, that's not true. It makes people richer, but it also lifts the poor. And it lifts the poor because it creates jobs. So I would wish that every billionaire that we get, we would announce not only how many dollars of wealth he has or she has, but also how many jobs that person has created, both direct jobs and indirect jobs. And that will take some of the sting out of being wealthy. The other advice I would give to my billionaire friends is to downplay your wealth. You don't, in other words, if I were Mr. Ambani, I would not have had such a splashy wedding. In countries, we are still a young country. Young meaning we got our economic independence only in 1991, so we are 30 odd years old, and in the richer countries who've had wealth for generations, the wealthy try and downplay their wealth, and they talk about their philanthropies much more about their wealth. And they talk about giving to different charities, and that's what they discuss in public. And therefore, I would like us to do the same thing, because in a country which is relatively poor, and where capitalism is not fully accepted, and no political party is selling the market or selling reforms. And in such a situation, I understand, you understand, the viewers of this program understand that the importance of the wealth creators is in the jobs they create. So, one, tell us how many jobs you've created, and two, how much philanthropy you're engaged in, and that should be the narrative. And we should not have these flashy weddings.
Well, very interesting thought over there. So essentially, have a more conservative view of how wealth is used. That is the centerpiece of what you're saying. But another interesting trend, Mr. Das, that has emerged is that India is now emerging as Asia's wealth creation engine. In fact, China has seen about a 25% decline. We've seen a 29% increase. And obviously, one would hope that this would help the growth of the Indian economy as well, because it is one of the signals that we are becoming a powerful nation as far as the economics is concerned in Asia.
Yeah, well, I think we are doing well. I mean, the growth rate numbers, etc., make us the fastest growing economy. But we still are not creating enough jobs. And so, from 91 till now, we've grown at almost 6%. And that's a good track record. But to create the jobs, we need to grow at even higher rates. And to do that, we need to still create an industrial revolution. And to create that industrial revolution, which will create the jobs, we need to do the reforms, but also we need to reduce our tariffs. I wish that billionaires would talk about how much they're exporting. That would be the real test, meaning their companies have become globally competitive. That's the test when you're exporting. Now, some of our software billionaires are doing that, but our manufacturing billionaires are not. And so we have failed. We should remember that. We have failed as to create that industrial revolution. And unless we do that, how will we take the people who are accessed in farms, in the bazaars? Young people don't want those kind of pakora wala jobs. They want better, decent jobs. And so I know this may not be the best thing you want to hear, but this is, it's not easy to sell the market either. Adam Smith called it an invisible hand that helps when millions of people working for their own profit, how they lift up the whole society. Well, people don't understand that. That's why I think NDTV Profit and channels like that need to explain that. And more than just the profit channels or the business channels, it's the regular channels that are doing that. I mean, the government should do it. Margaret Thatcher said that she spent 80% of her time reforming. 80% selling the reforms and 20% doing the reforms.
Right, Mr. Das, of course, we are hearing that there will be more reforms that could be on the way. We'll have to wait and watch out for how that pans out. But I just wanted your thoughts on Young India, because making the list are a lot of youngsters. In fact, the youngest one are 21 and 22. These are Zepto's Kaivalya Vora and Adit Palicha. A fantastic example of innovation made in India story of youngsters actually not being scared of putting out their ideas out there.
Brilliant, I would say. These startups, it's quite wonderful because actually, particularly in manufacturing, they found in America, they did a study, an MIT study, which showed that the people who were creating jobs were not the giant companies like Exxon and IBM and all. It was the startups that created 80% of the jobs. It was not the giants nor the mom and pop stores, the Kirana Wala, etc. It's these startups that create jobs. So I think that's wonderful, wonderful news. And again, I think it's not. We should not talk. What we should talk about in the same breath is I've become a billionaire, but I've also created so many jobs.
Oh yes, that's been the common refrain that you have made in this conversation. And you were talking about distribution of wealth, and obviously there is a great divide in India, which we need to progressively address. But do you think that when numbers like this come out, there is a real hope that perhaps it's going to be percolating downwards, if not in the next 2 to 3 years, but maybe in a reasonable time span?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will percolate, but I feel that we have a window of opportunity which is not going to be there forever. First of all, we have only 20 years before we begin to age. And from the young population we begin. So the demographic dividend has to come in the next 20 years. Secondly, I'm not sure how long these robotics and AI are going to allow the creation of jobs. And so if we want in our lifetimes to turn India from a poor country or a low middle income country to a respectable middle-income country, if we want to achieve that Viksit Bharat goal, maybe get near it, maybe not achieve it, because that may require a higher growth rate than we have, then at least we have to worry about taking the people who are surplus on farms and who are, they have to be lifted up at the same time. I mean, that's our last hope. We don't know what's going to happen after this window closes, because nobody knows what's going to happen to jobs. But at least we owe it to the next generation. The first 40 years of our country, we lost that opportunity because we were a license Raj, we were a command economy, and we didn't create billionaires, we didn't create jobs. But now is our chance to do it. And that's what I would love to see our billionaires do.
Just one final question, Mr. Das. One of the problems that India has is that there is a considerable skill gap that we have. And that is something that's so essential to be able to bridge. Now, the government, of course, has come out with various schemes. But do you think that the private sector, as well as all these new billionaires, also perhaps could try and deal with that issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think the basic problem. First of all, let me tell you, Apple manufacturing has come to India. They're making cell phones in India. They've been already within a couple of years, they're employing 150,000 people directly in their contract manufacturing facilities. And 70% are women. And men, most of them, it's their first time job. They've come from villages in Tamil Nadu and other places, and they needed only 4 to 6 weeks of training to be employable. So we should not overdo the skilling gap either. It is the company's responsibility. Best form of training is on-the-job training. So, but at the same time, what we have in the Apple phone case, we have an assembly line operation. That's fairly simple. But when you start making components, you need more skills in the components. And for skills, I would say the best thing, what's wrong with our skilling, our ITIs and other skilling missions, is they're not linked with the companies. They're not linked, demand is not linked with supply of labor. So the best ideas in this budget were the ideas of apprenticeship and internships. And those are what the company's responsibilities are. That you take apprenticeships, take people, and also for you, if you take an intern, you have a 3-month interview instead of an interview of 1 hour. You can never judge a person in 1 hour, because ultimately it's attitudes that matter in business success. It's not skills alone.
Absolutely.
So all these reasons, are all the things we're talking about are right. Yes, we need skilling, but let's not overdo it also. And always link skilling with the person who needs the job. In other words, this business of skilling and then finding a job, no. Start by linking from the beginning. And the companies should be hiring people as apprentices.
Absolutely, Mr. Das. So hopefully India will pick up this century and move forward. Thank you very much for joining us on the show this evening. Great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to NDTV Profit. Today is the second day at the Global FinTech Fest here in Mumbai, and the action continues. The day started today with SEBI chairperson Madhavi Puri Buch, who spoke about the role of fintechs in ease of doing business. Buch also spoke about how SEBI needs to do what is needed to cut the time required for IPO approvals. Separately, SBI's former chairman Dinesh Khara also spoke about how deposit tightness in the banking system will likely settle by June 2025. Listen in.
Every aspect of business and compliance continues, but it has to be made easy. It has to be made strong. Now, what really is the role of regulation? Why is there compliance in the first place? Why can business not do without any regulations? Why can it not do without any compliances? The reason is simple, that in a social environment, in an economy where rights of the consumer and of the investor are to be protected, there is an imbalance of power between large corporations and institutions and the small investor and consumer.
No, this is nothing but based upon the RBI report which has come, and we have done some kind of extrapolation. We have seen it in the past also, somewhere in the year 2004. There was a huge divergence between the deposit and the advances, and the time it took, normally it takes about 25 to 41 months. That's the estimation, and we have already completed about 25 months of the divergence. We expect that by June 25, this divergence should get plugged.
So what are your plans going forward now that...
I'm evaluating all the possible options.
Sir, you could give us some, idea as to, what are your plans?
It's too early to share those ideas. Let me evaluate. I've been there for just one day when I could actually start looking at it.
During the course of the day, NDTV Profit reporters also caught up with some of the biggest names in the fintech and finance industry. In an exclusive chat with NDTV Profit, Cred founder Kunal Shah also talked about how the fintech will start UPI credit line this year. Vikas Bansal of Amazon Pay said that market caps in the UPI ecosystem do not worry the payments provider.
I've been in fintech industry for a little over 15 years, so it's my just duty to show up over here. It's my fourth year at GFF. I conducted a couple of sessions. I hosted a bunch of fintech founders and investors on a panel yesterday, and today I spoke to a few economists. It becomes an effective place to just kind of meet the entire industry in a very short period of time, and it's fascinating that it has grown so quickly. We are expecting probably 100,000 odd guests over here, so it's good to see this.
Sir, one of Cred's focus has also been UPI. So tell us a little bit about that. Are you looking to introduce the credit line on UPI, because we see a lot peers doing it?
Our intent with Cred has been to kind of focus on a set of consumers and do everything that they are looking for. So when we launched UPI, it was largely from the realization that the credit card customers were actually using UPI quite a lot. We do believe that credit card customers will use RuPay and credit line on UPI quite actively to move, and they will not want to use their bank account. So I believe that 30-40 million customers of India who have a credit card right now will switch. So yes, we will be participating in that, and we already power RuPay, and we'll hopefully power credit on UPI through the line very soon as well.
Any timeline for that, sir? Is it in the works right now?
Yeah, very quickly, I would say, probably within this year.
So there's also been a discussion on the NPCI regulation and the market share of the UPI players. How do you look at it? Do you think it's beneficial for you because you're fourth in the race right now? Does this help you play catch up?
Hard for me to comment on what the thinking over there is, but I think the goal is that we focus on our customer segment, and we would love to get market share on the segment that we focus on versus trying to worry about the UPI market share per se. But I do believe that a well-balanced ecosystem is right. Having more players, having share in the UPI ecosystem keeps the system more vibrant.
So banks are also changing the rules on the usage of credit card and rents and stuff. So how has that affected you? How do you see it?
I think every product goes through changes, and I think it's just normal course. I believe that all the restrictions that are done to create responsible credit behavior is always a good thing, because in the long run what you want is people to be able to not get impacted by credit usage to impact them personally versus kind of doing it right. So I think all the restrictions are done with the right spirit, and we are actually quite happy because it actually makes the category a lot more resilient.
Explain to us a little bit about the super app rationale that you have, because we see in the industry people are looking at standalone apps more interestingly. So what's your idea behind that?
I think it's not super app or standalone. It's about creating products that consumers value. One would argue that your Android phone or iOS phone is also a super app because there are so many apps on it. You use them because they are high quality products. So I think the right thinking is, are you building a highest quality product? Then super app or app doesn't matter.
Give us an update on the wealth management foray as well, the Kuwera acquisition. What can we know more about that? What has the progress been like? Could you share some growth numbers with us?
Yeah, it's early days. We are very clear that Cred and Kuwera will focus on building more long-term wealth and not participate in speculative products. We believe that wealth creation is a function of really building resilient wealth mindset versus kind of a tendency of doing entertainment with money. And I think that's what we're going to focus on. We will hopefully announce a few things very soon, but the intent is to really focus on long-term wealth creation.
Sir, in the discussions that has happened in the summit, we see a lot of focus on profitable fintechs. How do we move to that? So what does Cred's path to profitability look like? What are your plans?
Well, we are a 5.5-year-old company. Every company is a company when it becomes profitable. So yes, the intent is go over there. But we believe that right now, investments that we're doing is actually working out really well for us. And we want to continue to do that. And within a few years, like every other company, we'll be profitable as well.
Sir, on the regulation front, it's something that's evolving. What is it that you expect from the government? How are you looking at it?
I think we have to understand that RBI has, or government has probably caused the highest amount of acceleration for the industry. This fintech industry exists because of the enablement and empowerment that RBI and the government of India has given to us. So I think the expectations are more simple about trying to create highest quality resilient systems. A lot of time people think of regulatory action as something that is bad, but I believe that it's the right thing. All of us will do well if the systems are solid and stable, and the expectations are that we create more empowerment and make it more vibrant for more and more fintechs to participate as much as possible.
That's great, sir. These were the questions we had for you. Thank you for your time.
This Global Fintechs Fest, I'm so amazed with the scale, with the dynamism, with the optimism, and I feel like this is the best fintech festival ever, and we continue to raise the bar every year. So there is a lot of excitement in terms of the industry, where we are going, how we are innovating, and we are already setting benchmarks for payments and for other financial services to follow. I feel India has tremendous future ahead of us. So, and we at Amazon Pay are so honored to be part of this journey of India's digital revolution.
That's great, sir. So you recently hit 100 million customers. So tell us more about how do you plan on increasing the market share? We already have the prominent players in the industry. So what is your plan towards that? And also the NPCI regulation with the market share. How does that benefit you? What do you think about that?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for that question. The first point is that the opportunity, when we look at, while we've made great progress on UPI, the opportunity still is very large. And we as one of the players in the ecosystem feel very excited about that. That's number one. Number two is that our approach is really about customer backwards and solving customer problems. And if you ask me, I don't worry about market share. I don't worry about competition. I worry about how can I solve problems for customers and merchants, and other things follow. And in that regard, what you mentioned, 100 million users, we feel very humbled and proud to hit that milestone. And it is a great validation of our customer experience and the customer trust that the customers have placed on us. So we feel very excited about that. And then we feel, we part of this digital revolution and digital journey.
Sir, we also there are also talks about that you're looking at a standalone Amazon Pay app. What do you have to share with us about that? Any update you could give or clarifications on that?
See, look, we when we started Amazon Pay, there was a reason we built an integrated strategy of building Amazon Pay within the Amazon overall app, and that's the strategy that we are pursuing right now. Now, in terms of, we also, as I said, we work backwards from the customer. We also listen to our customers and merchants and then see if there is a way to innovate and do better. So that's all I would say at this stage. We continue to listen and adjust our plans, and anything more than this is very speculative at this point.
Sir, could you give us an update on the merchant payments business and also the lending business? What is the growth ahead for that, and what plans or roadmap do you have for that?
First of all, we have been in the payments, merchant payments and payments aggregation, what we call here in the industry, for many, many years. And we already have a very large base of online merchants as well as the offline, what we call store payments merchants. So, and we feel very excited about now the license that we got from the regulator to continue to operate as a payment aggregation for online as well as on a cross-border payments. So our focus is very simple. Again, continue to innovate on behalf of our merchants and help them grow, help them acquire new customers, increase their card share, and also lower their costs and cost of payments. So that's what we are after. And if we solve these problems, again, the outcomes happen. And that's what I would say at this point.
There's also a lot of talk about the use of newer technologies, the emerging tech, right? AI and stuff. So tell us a little bit at Amazon, what are you trying to do? How do you leverage these technologies? And can we expect any new features that are coming up?
Yeah. First of all, artificial intelligence and generative AI are really transformative technologies. And I would put it in three buckets, what it does for us. First, it allows us to create personalized experiences, very unique to you. Secondly, it helps to lower the cost. Payments is a very low margin business, and if you can take the costs out, it really helps on operations. And the third thing is it can also help us, on fraud and abuse, and mitigate that on payments for the payment systems. And all these things are something that we are very excited about. And the other thing is on the new innovations on the area of voice-based payments, and that's also is very exciting. And so that we can make even payments more convenient for our customers and more trusted for our customers. So all those things we feel excited about. Stay tuned as we work on the innovation and bring more such offerings to our customers.
So the parent Inc. is bullish on the payments business that you have here. We saw that with the 600 crore fund infusion that has happened. So could you give us some details on what is the disbursement strategy of that? How do you deploy that, and what are the plans for?
Yeah, so look, again, we are solving these problems and we continue to build our product and services. So large part of this investment goes in building our products and services. And we always, I think we are very fortunate to have investors which have a really long-term view about the payments and the financial services potential in India and our ability to serve on those problems. And so we excited about that.
We've always heard you talk about this is all about building more digital payment instruments. So what more can you expect? What are the newer problems that you're trying to solve? Where does the next step of innovation come in?
Yeah, you already saw, we just announced yesterday our demo, and we did the demo on the delegate payments, or what we, the circle, the UPI circle. So that's one innovation that's very excited. Credit on UPI is very exciting, and there are several such things that we're bringing to the fore. And voice-based payments, as I mentioned earlier, is very exciting. So you will see like several of those things, we bring into our products to our customers.
While talking to NDTV Profit, Credible's Nirav Choksi also spoke about how the recent buzz in the SME IPO market has taken social media by flutter. Anubrata Biswas of Airtel Payments Bank also said that there are no IPO plans in the near future.
I think we are seeing an unprecedented boom, right, for SMEs today. With the IPOs, also with the growth story that you're seeing a lot of new businesses emerging every day. And the challenges of working capital remain for them. But the SME IPO platform has been a boon. even for retail investors. You're seeing crazy demand for them. But we're all in the right direction, right, in terms of growth and where SMEs are going from here.
Got it. Mr. Choksi, talk about the new lending product that you have, right? It's focused at SMEs. That's a new sort of expansion for you as well. You were earlier aimed at larger businesses.
Traditionally, we've been focusing on larger SMEs, mid-market companies. But one of the biggest challenges for small businesses is that they need not sell necessarily to large businesses. So there's a lot of trade that happens between small companies. And the other challenge is, and hence your cash flows are unpredictable. Now, in a scenario like that, how do you do short-term working capital products? So that's why we launched the revolving short-term loan product that we have, which essentially maps the SME's cash flows and enables them to pay as cash accumulates over a period of time. And that limit is available for them to be continuously drawn down. So think of it more like a credit card for small businesses. So this kind of revolutionizes the way they can access short-term working capital.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's a very, very exciting place. Super proud to be really a fintech which operates like a bank. Particularly in the last 6-12 months, we've seen extremely rapid revenue growth and user growth both. This is happening on the back of three major trends. One is the fact that we are the largest micro cash B2B player in the country. We are seeing very solid growth there. The second is that we are one of the largest rural acquirers. We have the largest and deepest distribution network. And the third, which is the most exciting part now, is that we have a very large and growing digital banking business where urban consumers are choosing a safe second account for their daily transactions. All three businesses put together, we have a 50% growth YOY on revenues. We are give or take between 2,400 to 2,400 crores of annualized revenue, and we are between 80 to 90 million monthly transacting users.
And where are you planning to take your monthly transaction users to by the end of this year?
We would be very unhappy if we don't cross the magic milestone of 100 million users, but importantly within that, we are very obsessively focused on having our bank account users have a wonderful, wonderful experience. For that, we are investing very heavily in the urban digital space. As an example, you would know that we are one of the largest providers of transit solutions. We are one of the largest providers of FASTags in the country, and we are one of the largest processors of NCMC metro transactions. Actually, we are the largest issuer of NCMC transit cards. All of this, NCMC transit cards, FASTags, a safe second account, we are really doubling down on, and we would expect to see very rapid growth in our savings bank account users, which is really the bedrock of what the bank is about.
So since your company is growing at a rapid pace, what is the listing on the cards? Can we expect an IPO listing?
It's not in the plans any moment in the near future, but certainly, as you're well aware, a listing is mandated for a payment bank with a certain net worth. Our net worth was 488 crores as of March 2024. So it's really a mathematical equation as to when IPO happens. So willy-nilly, sooner or later, over the next 3 years, at some point an IPO is going to be regulatorily due.
And so would you also be looking at, since for a small finance bank license, the RBI would have opened the doors by now. So are you looking at that as well?
Look, as a corporate house-owned bank, as you know, our promoter is Airtel. The small finance bank route is not going to be available to us. But importantly, I think it's a very powerful point, Subhana, that the payment bank industry today serves over 200 million users across the length and breadth of India monthly. 40 to 50% of them are outside the folds of formal credit, and we are a very powerful instrument in the hands of policymakers to ensure that credit inclusion can be driven deep down, and we remain very hopeful that there may be policy changes which will allow payment banks to lend small amounts.
So one last question, with this FinTech Fest event, just wanted to ask any new products that would be in the pipeline at your end?
Yeah, we are very excited about two very exciting products we have launched. One is that we've launched an entirely new way to travel using a tap and pay facility in the smartwatch. We have collaborated with Noise, who's the largest smartwatch manufacturer in the country, and essentially we've embedded an NCMC chip within the watch, which will allow the consumer to just tap on the transit point and walk into the metro. That's one thing we are very excited about because, as I mentioned earlier, transit and urban mobility is going to be a very powerful driver of digital banking in the future. The second big thing, Subhana, is that our consumers are choosing us because they believe that we are India's first choice for a safe second account, and we have launched a very powerful feature of a fraud alarm on our digital banking section, where just through a swipe of a button, a consumer can report, block his account, and ask us to investigate. That we believe will drive digital banking trust and adoption further.
And by when do you plan to, come out with these new features, these new products?
The fraud alarm is live as of today, and the transit solution is in proof of concept stage, and we should expect to deploy that in the next coming months.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you.
A lot of new things coming actually. So when we look at the entire India story on digitization, in our view, the journey started much earlier. Right, as a company, we contributed what were earlier called platforms to create digital interventions at a population scale in the space of taxation, pension. ID came with Aadhaar, and that is where, it was a revolutionary framework.
Yeah. We're at the protein stall on the sidelines of the Global FinTech Fest, and joining me is Suresh Sethi, CEO and MD of Protein. Thank you so much, Mr. Sethi, for joining us. Before we get to the launches that you've done, I want to understand a bit on the next big DPI that's coming out of India, right? We've seen the likes of Aadhaar and UPI go ahead and dominate the global south now. What's the next big thing that you're seeing coming out from India?
So, Rishabh, thanks for having me here. And I think the India story on digitization to provide last mile e-governance services started much earlier. Because as a company, we ourselves have been involved in contributing in the space of taxation, pension. I think Aadhaar became a watershed moment, because the way the Aadhaar digital public good or the identity DPI was structured has been a best class use case for the world. We created a layered approach. Identity was created and it became a public good, and it was built on open standards, open protocols which were interoperable. So various public partnerships and private partnerships came into play, and you could build services on top of it, whether it was for consumption of the ID to open a bank account, to open an insurance account, so on and so forth. We've seen the multiple use cases. So I think India has done a fabulous job on three pillars. It was the identity DPI, the foundational DPIs as we call it. It was payments DPI, which is where UPI came in. And it is the data DPI, where account aggregator today is becoming the next frontier, where we are saying ability to share data in a consented fashion to consume services based on that. So these are the three foundational DPIs, but where we are moving ahead, the government is clearly talking about almost 17 sectors in which they want to build open digital ecosystems using a DPI-led approach. And some of the things where we are seeing early traction is areas like digital commerce, transport and mobility, which is today represented by ONDC. ONDC is even making a foray into open finance, which was earlier open credit-enabled networks, where ONDC is now providing again a digital public good for that to get enabled. We are looking at interventions in the space of agriculture, health, education and skilling, to name a few. So these are big areas where we are again looking at creating a layer of digital rails for discovery, for credentialing. We heard about Finternet yesterday from Nandan, where we spoke about tokenization of all your assets so that you can digitally exchange them in a secure manner. And I think these are the things which are going to be the next frontier and will take us a long way in enabling things across multiple sectors. So the way you work, the way you earn, the way you heal, is everything going to get addressed by these DPIs.
Mr. Sethi, moving on now, I think about 10 years back is when we saw the first sort of startup wave, with the government also very proactively talking about startups. Today, I think it's the MSME wave, a lot of focus from the government on that front. What's the sort of product launch that you've done today? How does it help small businesses access a larger market?
So today product launch was more about, looking at how do you provide a stack for sellers to get plugged into the open commerce network, which today ONDC is providing. So ONDC, as you heard Koshi also mention, are the protocols out there, which are allowing you to do discovery. So they are providing a trusted set of protocols and multiple buyer and seller applications. And at the last mile, the buyer and sellers can get connected across an open network. So what we have done today, we have looked at launching an open commerce stack where we are in a way unbundling the journey for, let's say, a seller. Today, if you go to a small kirana or if you go to even an individual like a self-help group lady who's doing, who's participating in commerce, how do you digitize the journey for her? And that is what we are doing. So right from enabling them to build their catalog, you provide technology for that. You're providing them seller applications which allow them to plug into the ONDC network. But the journey just doesn't stop there. It's about then managing the entire order fulfillment process, your process of reconciliation of payments and funds. We are going even to the extent of building into this open commerce stack the ability to do digital marketing. Because when you are coming on board as a seller, ultimately you want to be able to show your goods in the right manner, make sure that you are portraying them well, and they are reaching the person who is interested in purchasing them. So this is an open stack, and anybody can choose, depending on their maturity in the digital e-commerce space, to adopt one or more parts of the ecosystem over there.